So to summarise, this is the golden ratio model, or grid as it's commonly called. We save this and we can borrow from it in any given project. Here you'll see my grid. I've separated all the shapes: squares, circles, rectangles and the spiral. I've covered all the different colour just to differentiate, and I've given each its own layer, as you'll see in the layers panel. So using the layers panel, I can easily lock those shapes which I want to avoid selecting, and I can extract from the grid whatever shape I want. By holding Alt to retain the original, I can click and drag out any one of the circles, for example. I can do the same with a square by locking down all but the squares in the layers panel and holding Alt, clicking and dragging out any square of my choice. So too, I can do the same for the rectangles, locking down, pressing Alt, clicking and dragging a rectangle out. And finally, of course, I can copy out the spiral using the same method. So this simply demonstrates how we can utilise the golden ratio grid we've built as a utility to copy shapes for use in our projects. We can also develop golden circles without using the golden ratio grid, and we do this using mathematics alone through the transform panel. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to select the ellipse tool with the stroke selected to draw out a circle. Holding Shift, I'm going to draw a fairly large circle here, and I'm going to copy this across, holding Alt, and I'm going to ensure this is selected and going to the transform panel, ensuring that the constrain width and height proportions button is selected. This is denoted by a chain. Now with this selected, whatever variable I put into these boxes, it will copy to make it perfect for width, height, etc. So I'm going to select height and I'm going to put in the divide symbol. With that done, I'm going to type in the golden ratio, which is 1.618. With that done, I'm going to press return. This now reduces the circle in accordance with the golden ratio. Now we can clarify this by selecting both, copy, and going back to our golden ratio grid. If we paste these in and I resize both simultaneously to maintain the ratio, because remember a ratio is a contrast between two or more objects, holding Shift, I'm going to resize the big circle so that it's going to be the same size as the one in the grid. Just making the adjustments on the keyboard. That's near enough. Now we can take this circle to prove that the ratio is in action, because it should match up perfectly with this circle here. And there we have it, a perfect match, proving that these circles we developed by way of mathematics and the transform panel adhere perfectly to the golden ratio. If we wish to create another smaller circle, we simply select this, take a copy, but go back to the transform panel, ensuring that constrain width and height is selected on the link icon. We click into one of the boxes, we put in the divide symbol again, and we type in the golden ratio number 1.618, and there we have it, the next circle in the series of the golden ratio. So this is how we create golden ratio circles on the fly using mathematics via the transform panel and the divide function. If we wish to develop golden squares without resorting to the golden ratio grid, we do exactly the same as what we do to develop instant golden circles. So with the rectangle tool selected, I'm going to hold Shift to keep proportions to draw out a square. I'm going to copy this square with Alt, dragging across, and with it still selected, I'm going to go to the transform panel, ensuring that the link icon is pressed down, which is constrain width and height proportions, and I'm going to type into any one of the boxes a divide symbol, and I'm going to type in 1.618, which is the golden ratio. Pressing return, here we have the smaller square in accordance with the golden ratio. And of course, if I want another square at a smaller size, with that selected, with constrain selected, I'll just go ahead and do the same again. Divide 1.618, and there we have it. These squares are now in accordance with the golden ratio. We can also develop instant golden rectangles without resorting to the golden ratio grid. And these are developed in a slightly different way to the circles and the squares. To develop a golden ratio rectangle instantly, we do the following. Selecting the rectangle tool, with a stroke selected, I'm going to draw out a rectangle of any size. I'm then going to go to the transform panel, and with the constrained width and height proportions deselected, I'm going to enter 100 millimeters for the height, just because 100 is a simple rounded figure to work with. Into the width, I'm going to type in 161, because the golden ratio is 1.618, and this, in contrast to the 100, is the correct ratio, because the 100 is essentially the 1 in the ratio. The ratio for the triangle is 1 to 1.618. So 1.61, and we can put 0.8 to be precise. So pressing return, we're now given the golden ratio triangle. Now we're going to copy this across using Alt. So to make this rectangle smaller in accordance with the golden ratio, I'm now going to press the constrained width and height proportions button, and I'm going to go into the width box, and I'm going to enter the divide symbol, and I'm going to enter the golden ratio number, which is 1.618. Press and return, there we have the smaller triangle in accordance with the golden ratio. If we select both of these, and we copy, and we go in our golden ratio grid model, and we paste. If I resize both, focusing on the largest one, so that it's the same size as the largest rectangle in the grid, and resizing as close to as possible, like so. Now when we take this rectangle, we should have a perfect match on the right hand side. Now you'll see that that is a perfect fit. Now this proves that these rectangles which were developed are in accordance with the golden ratio. So if we want to make another rectangle in the series, we just copy this, and we go to the transform panel once again. In the height box, ensuring that constrain width and height is selected, we enter the divide symbol, and we type in the golden ratio number, which is 1.618, and there we have the smaller rectangle in accordance with the golden ratio. So that's how we develop an instant golden ratio rectangle, utilizing the functions in the transform panel.